Good afternoon, my students. You will recollect that I was with you some time ago and I gave a brief introduction of our course, Public Health, the history of public health laws and administration. I remember giving the definition of law as a body of rules put in place by the constituted authority for the purpose of regulating human conduct in a given society. I told you that law has no universal accepted definition, and that we can always adopt the definition I've just told you. But there are other definitions, like law consists of a body of rules of human conduct, the violation of which calls for the employment of sanction directly affecting the property or the status of the offender. I also told you that law is a solemn expression of the will of the supreme power of the state, which must be followed and obeyed by citizens of a state subject to sanctions or legal consequences. Law is also a system of rules a society sets to maintain order and prevent harm to persons and property. Your level has passed you being taught the characteristics of law, but you must know it, and you must also know the classification of law as well as branches of law and functions of law. It is this that we can say you are thoroughly bred. And let me tell you also that you have a very good note which I prepared for you. I told you the last time I was with you. When you have a good note and you can read English very well, and I know that most of you, before coming to this school, before you are given the HND, the requirement is credit pass in English language at O level, which I know you have. And your 4 years program at the colleges, at your various colleges of health technology, must have prepared you well. So what I'm just doing here is to guide you. Your note is already there for you. And remember that the last time we discussed the history of national public health laws, when I told you that we have 3 eras. The history of public health law may be traced from the common health concern and needs for particular eras, periods in the history of the world. We have 3 distinct periods. When I told you that pre-colonial, and I told you that pre-colonial, usually we have the customary law which we practiced before the colonial era. And I told you that the most important of this is that it is unwritten, and that although unwritten and which varied from place to place, each community adhered to its practices and accepted them as obligatory. Such law, I told you then, that today it is still applicable, and some communities can only enforce it if it is not contrary to public policy, natural justice, equity, and good conscience. They were dynamic but never lost their character. They were unwritten, yet well known. Their main source being the memory of elders' folktales. I remember then that I told you that in those days we have practices. Anybody that violated the law has a way of being punished. It can be exorcised from the society, it can be banished, can be prevented from participating in certain things, like if somebody polluted the stream which many people draw water from, that it is possible that what the elders, the chiefs, the people with the custodian of law, what they will do is to punish the people. There are various ways of punishment. Then I told you that the colonial period, mostly that our colonial master was the British, and their law were made to be applicable to us. And I told you that their law consists of the received English law, comprising the common law, the Duchess of Equity, Statutes of General Application in force in England on January 1, 1900, and the Statutes and subsidiary legislation on specified matters. And I told you that it also the English law, that is statutes made before October 1, 1960, and extending to Nigeria, which are yet to be repealed. Laws made by the local colonial legislature are treated as part of Nigerian law. I told you that even during the colonial regime, they were making laws for us. The laws made in England as at that time, as at 900 of January 1, 1900, were made applicable to us, and laws made specifically for Nigeria at that time they were ruling us were also applicable to Nigeria on specified matters. And I told you that Nigeria gained her independence on October 1, 1960. And ever since our independence, we have been making our own laws. And that takes us to the third era. That is post-independence. The post-independence era. And today we have different laws. We have the National Public Health Laws, that is laws made by our own National Assembly. And we have the state. The state makes the various states have they have the houses of assembly, and their houses of assembly may make laws for the various states. So like Oyo State has its own House of Assembly, which makes laws to the state, and such laws made by each state, they are called laws. For federal, they are called the acts. And we have three types of government. The three types of government: we have the federal government, we have the state government, we have the local government. All these, each of these organs makes their own laws. And for federal, I told you then that we have the National Assembly, consisting of two houses, that is the Senate and the House of Representatives. And these two bodies make law for the federation. And of course, you have to consider the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended. We have what we have in a schedule there, which we call exclusive legislative list. This exclusive legislative list is we have items there that the federal government can make laws. Although the state have under the Constitution concurrent legislative list. That is where the states are the various states are restricted to make laws for their state. But we still have laws under the concurrent legislative list, which the federal government can also make their own laws. Can also make laws. But in any way, the state cannot make laws, cannot just trespass. Cannot trespass. can not trespass, cannot just go into the exclusive legislative list and make laws. No, it is not allowed, and the state government, concurrent legislative, they cannot make laws that is contrary to what the laws made by the federal. And if they do that, that of the federal will take precedent. And we have various laws made by the state government and by the federal government. So
Send message